Thanks a lot. Matthew Lee, Inner City Press. I wanted to also thank you for doing this briefing on behalf of the Free UN Coalition for Access. I wanted to ask you about the beyond ratifications. There were recently some protests in Japan about what they call the U.S. test, plutonium test in May. Are you aware of that, and what do you say of the actual testing? And
yes, Matthew.
Sure. On Sri Lanka, I wanted to ask, and actually before asking it, I asked this by email yesterday, but I wanted, maybe at the end of your answer, if you can say, at least I and some others were left unclear why there was no new briefing yesterday, given that Secretary General didn't speak until 1 and took 2 questions. It seems like there's a lot of things going on in the world. So can you explain that?
Yeah, it's a very simple explanation. The Secretary General, when the Secretary General briefs the press, we don't have a noon briefing. You've had, by the way, extra noon briefings on Saturday and Sunday, so I hope you're
No, it's not the number of briefings. It has to do with whether the UN has billion-dollar peacekeeping missions in Sudan, Congo, issues in Haiti. Like you should be able.
Matthew, we answer questions all day, and you emailed us several questions, which we've been trying to answer.
Here's the question that you didn't answer, and I want to ask it. It has to do with during the visit of Navi Pillay to Sri Lanka. She said in her exit press conference that witnesses who spoke to her or who sought to speak to her were being intimidated and harassed immediately after, and she said the UN takes this very seriously. So I asked you about a specific case of a human rights defender who said that he was visited in his home at midnight by the government after speaking with Navi Pillay, and I wanted to know whether the Secretariat has any comment on the intimidation of people for speaking to the UN.
Certainly, we believe that no one should face intimidation for speaking to the United Nations. We also encourage the respect for the work of all human rights defenders. And we, needless to say, we fully support the work that Navi Pillay was doing while she was on the ground in Sri Lanka. We may have more to say on this down the line, but for now, basically, those are the standard principles. Matthew?
I want to ask you also about DRC and Sri Lanka, but on Syria, yesterday in the Senate, John Kerry was asked about the UN report, and he said that it's his understanding it will be ready in about 3 weeks. So I wanted to know, I know that you won't give any date to it, but is this based on any communication he had with the Secretary General? And
yeah, Tim.
Sorry, there's a place called DR Congo, south of Syria. Can you update us on Special Envoy Robbins?
And I had brought up a couple of days ago about the AP reporter that had interviewed in Huta rebels that said that they were connected with the sarin gas attack. And I'm wondering, are those claims being investigated by the UN equally with the claims against Syria?
First of all, I believe you might need to discuss with your Associated Press colleague who's sitting just a little bit behind you after this briefing. I believe there's some dispute as to whether AP has said anything of the sort. Yes, Matthew.
Yeah, sure. I want to ask about DRC and then, as I said, Sri Lanka. On the DRC, yesterday when I emailed in a question, you said that the MONUSCO was unaware of any of fighting in the Kivus, but the spokesman for MONUSCO has now been quoted, at least in French media, as saying that the MONUSCO anticipates soon action in the Rutshuru area. So I wanted you to either square that or say what are the UN's plans, and have they reached the point where they actually now plan offensive military action without regard to the actions taken by the armed groups that they're targeting?
Regarding that, the UN mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo says that there was no major fighting in the past few hours between the M23 armed group and the Congolese armed forces in North Kivu province. The mission is closely monitoring the situation and remains on high alert to protect civilians. And regarding any future operations, the mission is monitoring the situation in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo and is prepared to implement its mandate, which includes protecting civilians.
Well, I just wanted one follow-up, because this was in the MONUSCO press conference held today, and the spokesman for MONUSCO, said, I'm going to sort of translate this on the fly, but it's very different. He said that the UN troops are following things from very closely, waiting for other future actions. And so I just wanted you to know, what does this mean? Does this mean...
That doesn't contradict what I said. I just said that the mission is monitoring the situation in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. It's prepared to implement its mandate, which includes protecting civilians.
So are they planning a military action in Rutshuru? That's my question.
I wouldn't say that, no. They're monitoring the situation. Pam.
Farhan,